Well, hello, everybody. You've missed us. We've missed you. It's 19. No, is it 19? Oh, no, it's 2026. God, what century am I in? Anyways, welcome to Rare Book Cafe. We've missed you all. We're missing Lee today. She's literally just called in sick a few minutes ago. We're so sorry. And we're hoping and sending her best wishes for getting better. And I know we'll see her again soon. But the show goes on, and we have a special guest today. I don't want to divulge too much too quickly, but we've got the guy in Florida who's going to tell us about the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair. And I have to say this, I consider him a really good friend, a good colleague in the business, and sometimes he's even funny. But we want to welcome Mike Cotter from Jacksonville, Florida. Michael, hello.
Hello, hello, Richard. Good to see you. I just talked on the phone with you all morning.
I know.
So my whole day is Richard Mori today. I didn't think it was going to be, but it is.
Yeah, Mike, I can't help but say this because this image behind you is so overwhelming. Now, do you have to be? I mean, I've heard stories about people literally being found dead, buried in their book piles. Are you worried about that here?
If you don't hear from me within a day or two, you might get a little concerned.
We might want to send in the reserves. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I do have a dog, and my dog will miss me. I don't know if my wife or kids would, but the dog would miss me. So they somebody would know.
Well,
But yes, this is a classic biblioholic book hoarding. I read this on T-shirts all the time at book fairs. If it's books, it's not hoarding.
that's correct. I know that for a fact.
This is it's ambiance.
Yes.
Ambiance.
And hear me, you seem to have a little bit more than most.
Yes. If only they were all worth money.
If only, or if you
only.
could turn them into money, that would
yes,
be
yes.
the magic trick. Abracadabra, Siskumbar. Where'd it go?
We tease all the time in the business that in our business there's no secret. There are shall we say gentlemen farmers. There are folks who enjoy books, they enjoy literature, they enjoy the search for knowledge, they enjoy the business of what we do, but they don't necessarily need the money. My business, on the other hand, is what we call a working farm.
Yes.
So if I don't hustle and make these stacks and mine one book out of this stack that might make me a few dollars, this week, I'm out of business.
That's right.
But I love the business enough to keep doing it.
And we certainly want to encourage our clientele to accumulate books in the manner in which you're showing them.
Absolutely. Monkey see, monkey do.
That's right. Well, if you ever get a chance to visit me at my warehouse in Nashua, you will understand.
Exactly. Yes, this is just the home office.
So, Mike, we're excited about the Florida Book Fair this year, March 7th and 8th at the Coliseum in St. Petersburg. Very easy to find, right at the end of the ramp, and I think it's $3.95, right on the end of the ramp at the left. Great parking lots.
Always plenty of parking. One of the biggest draws.
Yeah, good food from the food vendor.
Yep.
And
always good food.
So tell us a little bit more about the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair. How long has it been around? Who started all this? Give us all the scoop.
Well, okay. I'm sure you guys have heard all this before, but I'm happy to share again. So I got involved in the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair about 15 years ago. But prior to that, decades prior to that, Mr. Mike Slicker, who owns a bookstore called Lighthouse Books, and Lighthouse Books was in St. Petersburg, Florida for forever.
Decades and decades.
Yeah, and only recently, I think 2 years, did Mike Slicker. Was it
I
last
think
year?
no, I think it's actually closer to 4 or 5 years now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
only within the last few years, Mike has now moved his business, Lighthouse Books, to Dade City, but the fair, has such a fabulous run in St. Pete. We've kept the fair there, and I'm speaking about the fair like I'm involved, but really I'm just including myself. Mike Slicker and his daughter Sarah Smith. She is the manager of the book fair. She runs the book fair. Mike is the godfather of the book fair. Founded in '81. Is that right, Richard?
I think it's over 40 years. I think it's 42 or 43 years now.
Yeah, I think that they had a fair, maybe in like a Holiday Inn or some school gymnasium or something. But I think in '81 was the first. But they've been in the Coliseum for 40 years. My favorite thing about the Coliseum actually is, well, I guess I have to say the book fair. But after the book fair is the Coliseum in St. Petersburg itself was used as a backdrop in a film that I really loved when I was a kid, a Ron Howard film called Cocoon. So if you've ever seen that movie and you've seen Don Amici and Hume Cronin and Wilford Brimley and the old guys, which I think I'm actually older than Wilford Brimley was when he was in that movie. But, when all these old guys at the retirement home go and they take their ladies out dancing, those scenes were filmed in the Coliseum in St. Pete.
I love it. Is truly, and I do a lot of venues around the country, as you know. It is my favorite venue of all.
It's a fabulous building. It's a treasure. Whether or not the what is in the Coliseum and what they do with the Coliseum and the buildings that go up around the Coliseum, the Coliseum itself is I don't know when it was built, but I'm going to assume a World War II era.
Actually, it predates that. It's probably around 1920, early 30s, I think.
There you go. But it really is a building where I can look at and I can imagine my grandfather talking about his dance hall years.
Yeah.
When he would go dancing with young ladies about town, and the Coliseum is a remnant of that era.
I've actually done New Year's dance at that Coliseum.
Really?
Yep, I love it. Great.
What?
Oh, you don't know this, Mike, but I love to dance, and I'll tell you a quick little story. This is a real sidebar, more personal than anything. So I was for a good friend of mine. We went down. We decided one year we're going to be in St. Peter's for New Year's, and the Coliseum was having the first dance that they hadn't had in a long, long time, and there was another dance literally 3 blocks away, which was a Cajun, and the Coliseum dance was more of a swing dance, rock and roll and that. And but I was excited because we were going to dance to what I thought was going to be big band at the Coliseum.
Sure.
They were doing a disc jockey, and I looked at my girlfriend at the time and I said, Patty, I cannot dance in this hall to a DJ. And we left. Now, the next year we went back and they actually had a big band and we had the most wonderful time. And
there you go.
Yeah. But that hall has to be live music, big band. There's no other way to dance there.
Nope, I agree. If I went to the Coliseum and it was not the book fair, I would expect to hear, big band swing music coming out.
Yeah.
Okay,
so tell us more.
So Mike Slicker, Lighthouse Books, founds the book fair. Mike is also the founder of the Florida Antiquarian Booksellers Association. And Mike is still with us. Thank you, powers that be, and but genuinely the godfather of books and rare books in Florida.
Most definitely.
And just a wonderful man. Somewhat mentored me in his own way over the years. I never worked for him, but he most certainly treated me right, and tried to teach lessons along the way.
You weren't the only one.
I can't imagine. He's the guy is the heart of gold. But so, and Mike runs the fair with his daughter over the last 40 plus years, and now we have this wonderful book fair, which in my opinion on the East Coast is second only to New York. I just did the Boston Book Fair, and they're wonderful fairs. Boston Book Fair, your fair in Boston. There's lots of shadow and regional fairs, and but there's nothing quite like the St. Pete. It captures a little bit of that magic that I think Manhattan does.
Oh, it does. It's the hall, it's the people, the public
Yeah.
have been so responsive. I've done the show. I haven't figured out exactly, but I know it's over 25 years. And I love the people. Certainly Sarah and Mike have always been the most inviting and entertaining folks you could ever ask to be with. We've watched Sarah's family grow up in that hall over the years.
And Sarah continues to grow that family.
But it's just such a friendly environment, and the people who show that this is one of the best crowds in the country. That doesn't quite match New York City, but that's a city of 10 million plus people are all around it. It's even more, but St. Petersburg draws out the people and brings them in. And it's a nice young crowd who love books, who are excited about books, who want to know more. You've been there a long time now.
Oh yeah. This, and kind of similar to the Manhattan Fair. Part of the reasons why we do book fairs as booksellers, as vendors, as purveyors, part of the reason why we do that is we want to sell stuff, of course, but book fairs are the place where I'm around my people. When I go to a book fair, I'm seeing my friends. I'm seeing Richard Mori. I'm seeing Ken Mallory. I'm seeing, Ken Mallory Books, in Atlanta. I'm seeing Mike Slicker, Lighthouse Books. These are my people.
And the guys from up north,
Yeah. Larry Vandekar at Bookleggers. John Glover, Glover's Bookery. These people been in that room for decades also.
The Baumans, Bauman
the Bauman, yep, Bauman Rare Books. We talk all the time. Ernie and Steve, and these guys, they're BB Muhammad Imperial. Absolutely. There's a fabulous crowd. I mean, St. Peter's one of those fairs where like you can kind of walk down an aisle and go, oh yeah, he's got books covered in Kentucky. Oh yeah, he's got books covered in Ohio. Richard, you don't even try to find a rare book in New Hampshire because it ain't there. Richard Mori already found
it. You're being a little more generous, but thank you. I did let two slip through my fingers last year.
Exactly. No, but it really is one of those fairs where, like, and there's new guys, Matt Whalen Books, and Matt.
I got to tell you, this is true. Matt Whalen was my customer back in 1996.
There you go.
Okay, in New Hampshire. And I sold
Whalen, you taught him too well because he took advantage of me when I bought a first edition Gary by Stephen King from him at last year's Florida Book Fair. No, I'm actually just teasing. He did. I still made a few bucks, but Matt, he's turned into a real bookseller.
I sold him his first Hattie Boy books.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. So, but the Florida Book Fair is one of those fairs where you can kind of walk down the aisle and almost every one of those dealers is, a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the right, almost every one of those dealers is important, in some form or fashion. They're important for a reason.
In the culture in our culture, they take up a space that's significant in terms of promoting the business, promoting the knowledge, and
Yep.
bringing things into the market that we might not see otherwise.
Exactly. Exactly. So, this year we'll have, the next installment, the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair 2026. I think the theme is, we just talked about this, Let Freedom Read, celebrating the 250th, anniversary. We obviously we hope to see a lot of patriotic material to this country, the United States of America, but you're gonna see everything.
You're going to see everything. But speaking of patriotic material, now I have to admit I got a sneak preview to this, so I'm letting a little bit of the cat out of the bag, but I hope you'll be willing to talk about it. But did I hear there's going to be a John Adams document at this event?
No, you're there. There's going to be there might be a John Adams.
Yeah. Is it Samuel?
Sam Adams.
Oh, even more interesting.
Yes. So Sam Adams, John Adams, second president, very famous in his own right, obviously, a founding father, David McCullough wrote an entire book about John.
Yeah.
And his good book, by the way, but I happen to have
do you have it?
A document from 1795 from the state of Massachusetts that is signed by his cousin Sam Adams. And so this is Samuel Adams
right there on the left,
appointing a member of the militia. And I'm going to try
we're seeing it. Good. Yeah, looks good.
It's a pretty bold Samuel Adams. Now we've got some deterioration
in the paper.
Yep. Some we've got some losses to the folds where this document was originally folded, and it was originally folded down into, it was folded 9 times. And we can clearly see those fold marks, but the sheer existence of these things at this place and at this time, this is Sam Adams, signed this in 1795.
And this is an example of what we were talking about before. Here you are, you're bringing an historical document back into the market. Who knows how it could have been lost? Very easily. This is ephemera. And ephemera is something that may not last and wasn't designed to last necessarily.
No.
And of course,
and this is one of the things like we've talked about. You would think you would see more of these sort of historical documents, but in 1795, Mr. John Hanning, his I'm gonna bet that's Manning, actually, John Manning.
That sounds.
Yes, he was being appointed to the 3rd Regiment, 1st Brigade, the militia of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
And of course, you can just, with a little research, you could probably find out.
Oh, sure.
His time in service and other information about him.
And I haven't cataloged it yet, but I will before the show. And so, with any luck, we'll have an idea of who he was at the show. That's the kind of thing that, as booksellers, we love. We love to do the research to try to find why something is maybe even, more special than what we thought it was.
And put it in context. And in some cases, and in a good example, let's see, I'm totally blanking out, so I guess I won't go there because I'm blanking out. But in context, things do come into the market, and the research becomes significant because connections get made to not just historical figures, but historical moments, and that in itself makes it special. And just as a little footnote, this is a little book I picked up recently. I'm adding it to my pile of historical books or books on historical subject. I'm sorry, wrong one. That is, but I'll talk about that later. I picked up the wrong one. But this one here, nice little, it's called American Treasures, The Secret Efforts to Save the Declaration of Independence. Well, Why does that feel historically significant? I don't know.
Exactly.
You know,
Oh,
these
yes. And even without advertising the 250th, a place, a venue like the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair is where I kind of expect to see um, some special pieces of Americana that aren't housed by museums or
right.
institutions.
Yeah.
It is most certainly one of those venues where this sort of material changes hands
Yeah.
in America.
Yeah. And it's, by the way, my fact checker, and we pay him very, very high wages for this, but my fact checker came out and told me that the Coliseum opened in November 1924.
There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
And,
So
and, and now
and
an
still,
extra piece of bread for that sandwich for you.
yeah, and so 1924 and
Yeah.
still standing strong.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, no matter what happens with the book fair, it is one of those buildings that you look at and you say, I know that they do value it. I know, I mean, it wouldn't be still standing and doing as well as it's doing if the city of St. Pete did not value it. But I'm certainly glad they do, and I hope they continue to value that piece of architectural mastery.
In your mind, my mind, and many other people's, it's a treasure.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So there you go. The book fair, is modestly priced as far as tickets to get in. Sarah makes it very appealing for for everybody to come in and enjoy the book fair. And I'm sure you guys have talked about this before, but an antiquarian book fair, sometimes I think gives people the wrong impression about what they're entering or what they're paying to see or join. Um, there are books for everybody. There are going to be books that people want to buy, like this American Treasures book you just held up, that somebody wants to read. It's going to run the gamut. You're going to see everything from Samuel Adams signed documents for sale to $25 books on American history or whatever it is you're into. You're going to see $25 first printing paperbacks of Lolita by Nabokov if you're into that sort of thing. It's going to be everywhere.
Actually, last year I had Lolita signed at the fair.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he have one of his little butterfly illustrations?
No, no.
So he was
But
famous.
it was signed first issues in paperback, 2 volume.
Okay, can I show something else I'm going to bring?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so this is not necessarily American history like Sam Adams or John Adams or Washington, but in its own right, and in Florida, I think that it's up there. So in 1986 in America, I was a kid and I was in school, and one February morning, they gather up all the classrooms and they take us into the auditorium. It was the lunchroom. They took us all into the lunchroom, and they wheeled in the big TV, the big tube TV that they wheel that in and they plug it in, and they're like, kids, today's the day we're going to see a teacher, Miss Krista McAuliffe, fly off into space.
From New Hampshire, Concord, New Hampshire.
We're going to see her fly off into space. For the first time, one of our own is going to be on that shuttle. And, I've also heard this said a lot amongst kids of my generation, that this explains a lot about Generation X, as they brought us all into lunchrooms and auditoriums across America, and then the shuttle explodes and they just say, okay, go back to class. Sorry, go back to class, everybody. I think that explains a lot about my generation. Yeah. But that said, so after the explosion of the Challenger, we have a couple of memorial services, one of which, the major one, is at Kennedy Space Center, and the other is at Johnson. This is one of the programs from the February 1st, 1986 memorial service for the Challenger, and there's too much glare.
No, you got it. It's good.
Okay, there's too much glare, but you can get an idea.
Raise it just a little bit. Just yeah, up. There it is. Now we can see Krista. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
McNair, Resnick, all these guys.
Yeah.
So this is one of the original programs to the Kennedy, JFK, Cape Canaveral, to their service. And they handed these out here, and they handed them out at the Johnson. And this is one of the original surviving pieces of ephemera that would have been handed out. My impression is somebody picked up, a handful of these, because we do see them. I'm not sure how many they printed. I've tried to find out actually how many were printed, but nobody seems to really know. And it's not a thing that you would think would be known, really. But it's a pretty special piece of NASA history.
So what would an outrageous price on that be?
I'm going to probably have this priced at $500.
Really?
Yeah, probably $500. This one is a really nice example. I try to because we're in Florida. They actually do turn up every now and then, but they don't turn up. Nobody's at Mount Dora selling this for $1.
Right.
People kind of know what they have for the most part, and that's fine. I want to pay a fair price for what I sell, and I want to raise the price. I want to research it and convince people of why it's worth a little bit more.
Right.
That's what we do.
Well, I'm a big Christy.
There you go. Yeah.
I just picked this up. It's a paperback.
Yep.
Not a valuable book by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not something you see frequently.
No.
So I'll bring this. In New Hampshire, Christopher McAuliffe is well known. We have the Christopher McAuliffe Space Center at I think it's a
planetarium.
Planetarium, at the New Hampshire College Technical Institute in Concord.
So I think at the opening of that planetarium, James Earl Jones was there that night. And I have a program to that night signed by James Earl Jones. It's actually on my website for sale. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And also the school where she taught is now carries her name. Mm-hmm. So we're in New Hampshire. She's a major figure.
No, as she should be.
And that's not to diminish any of the other astronauts who lost their lives in the
No, not at all. Not at all.
But she was unique.
She was very unique. When we look at the Challenger, or we look at Columbia, and I didn't mean to go off in a whole NASA spin, but we are in Florida. But Commander Dick Scobie, Mike Smith, the pilot, Ron McNair did several missions. Onizuka, Jarvis, Judy Resnick, all these guys. These folks, not that they deserved what they got, or not that, we're not talking about that. We're not talking, but I think if you were trained as an astronaut, and this is what you dreamed for your whole life, and I understand it was a tremendous loss of life, but I think it was can I say they might have known the dangers a little bit more than a teacher. They probably prepared for this. I know most certainly astronauts prepared for this sort of thing. It's why we see the first day covers signed by, Buzz Aldrin, Mike Collins, and Neil Armstrong. It's because these first day covers were signed by those three guys, and they handed them over, and they were to be sold to raise money for the family should they die. Like we plan for that sort of thing. Can you imagine being a teacher chosen from America after filling out an application? And what a wonderful honor that was. And I think that we should honor her just as much as any of the rest, if not more.
Yeah. And in fact, because New Hampshire has a special connection to the NASA program, Alan Shepard, the first astronaut to go into space, was from Derry, New Hampshire. Little sidebar, he was a Boy Scout in the Daniel Webster Council. And,
Well, you should know all about that.
I do. But so we feel we have a little special connection to NASA. And of course, every state, I bet every single state in the United States today has astronauts that come from their home states. So each state has a reason to be proud. But in New Hampshire, we carry that just a little bit deeper, I think.
And now we're living in a time frame when I'm literally watching a video of these guys fly in a big oversized drones. These autonomous drones that, pretty soon I'm just going to be able to sit in a little cockpit and fly myself with a remote control, like to get a pizza. Amazing times we live in.
Yeah, it is. As the Chinese say, may you live in interesting times.
Interesting times.
So, we really appreciate your time today, and you're welcome to stay a little bit longer if you want, but I also want to give you the opportunity. We're going on longer than usual, actually, but you and I tend to talk a lot anyways. But I've got some books I want to talk about, and if you want to stay, you can, but feel comfortable to say goodbye because we're eating up some of your day.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm going to sign off, I think. Once again, Mike Cotter, Back in Time Rare Books. I hope to see you guys all at the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair.
March 7th and 8th.
March 7th and 8th, the Coliseum. Prior to that, I hope this okay. I'm going to give a shameless plug for, I know Richard is doing an event this weekend in Venice. I'm doing an event this weekend in DeLand, the paper and ephemera fair. I don't know when this is going to be shown, but if it happens to go out before that, I hope to see we get out there, out.
And you and
it's
I
like
are
Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
it's like Indiana Jones once said, you got to get out of the library.
Yeah, and we're out and about. There's lots of things going on. I'm actually going to see you in Atlanta.
Atlanta, this is the first year we're going to have the first year in a long time, we're going to have an Atlanta Rare Book Fair. It's at Oglethorpe University, and Richard, you'll have to give the dates. I don't know.
I believe it's
the weekend before.
Yeah, I think it's February 28th and
then March 1st.
March 1st, that weekend.
Yeah, so it's the weekend before.
I think it's the 27th, 28th, and March 1st.
So that's an Atlanta venue.
That's a historical campus, yes?
Historical campus, and we always have good fairs in Atlanta. I don't know, but one of the things I really like about the group that is hosting that fair is they generally get and I don't know, I haven't looked at the list, but I'd be willing to bet they've got half price books coming in addition to dealers like us. And, half price, one of the great things about half price books, there are obviously negatives to companies like Half Price Books. But one of the great things about a company like Half Price Books is, at their core, they're supportive of our mission.
That's right.
Literacy in America, literacy in the world. But they also, have very reasonably priced books. And when you find them doing a fair, like they do with the Fine Book Fairs events, when you find them, then that means that one of the district representatives has gone around to 7, 8, 9, 10 stores and pulled out the coolest stuff, and they bring it all to one venue,
Yeah.
uh,
And
which
and they
is
do
nice.
find some cool stuff.
They do. They do. I
I've been
once missed a Harry Houdini signed book in a box from half price.
yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I first met them, God, 25 years ago, I think in Texas is when I
Yeah.
first came
I think
across.
that's where they started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
I think they started in Texas.
and I've seen them now, they're pretty much everywhere. Not quite, but they're in a lot of places now.
They're getting there. Their only significant rival, I think, is a company called Second and Charles. And Second and Charles, I man, they're falling behind. Half price
Yeah.
is doing a good job, I think,
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to sign off, but I
All
hope to
right.
see all of you down the road.
Glad to have you. Thank you for stepping in today. And we'll look forward to seeing you down the road.
Sounds good. Thanks, Richard.
And make sure that you look for Rare Book Cafe on the internet at Facebook, Instagram. Is it TikTok? We don't say TikTok anymore, do we? I forget. So social media.
You can't even say it anymore.
Well, I thought is which one changed? It used to be. It's
Well,
now X.
TikTok was the one it's there's
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's that other thing.
Yes,
But anyways, we're out there, and we hope you'll find us someplace and visit us in Florida at the Antiquarian Book Show.
will do.
Thanks.
See you, Richard.
Take care. We were really great to have Mike. I've spent the whole morning with him. His wife's probably going to wonder what the hell is going on with him and I, but it's a buddy relationship. What can I tell you? So I wanted to talk about something today. This is the book I held up earlier by mistake. So you're familiar with Nathaniel Philbrook. He's a wonderful writer. Love his books. If you haven't read the Moby Dick, it's really, really good. But this is another good example. I've started reading this just recently. And the reason I'm showing you this book is that I want to talk about something else. Let me show you. Behind me here, I think you can see it, is a map. This is actually the first map at I think you can see that. This is the Georges Shoals Bank. It's the first chart of that area in the Atlantic Ocean. This is in New England. This is a very important fishing grounds. This is primarily the fishing grounds of New England. It was done by Lieutenant Wilkes. He was a lieutenant commander in 1837. I picked this up just recently, and I was particularly excited to discover that Nathaniel Philbrook wrote a whole book on this guy. And he's really an interesting character. He provided he he actually mapped and charted uh, a major piece of the Antarctic. He went on with he had 6 ships that he was in command of, and they charted the South Pacific. And the story, actually, I'm just beginning to get into it. It's a little more interesting because when they got back from his 3-year voyage, his crew turned on him and they ended up having a big um, investigation into his voyage. I don't know the outcome yet. I haven't finished the book, but it's, I think, an exciting, good read. And I was excited to pick this particular map up um, on my way down to Florida, actually. And I'll have that at the fair. So I'm going to go on it. I'm going to talk just a little bit. I loved having a muse, so I don't have one today with Mike gone now, but this is another example of the kinds of things that will be at the Antiquarian Book Fair in Florida. This is Edward Gorey book, The Broken Spoke. One of his earlier ones. I forget what year it is. Let me just quickly look. 1976, not quite the earliest, but this is a sign. I think this is a sign limited. Where is it? Oh, there it is. There's the sign limitation. I think you can see it. So this is an example of the things that'll be there. Lori's books have become extremely popular. The signed material is getting hard to find. So I'm really pleased to have that. I think I should have that unless I sell it before then. But um, here's one of my favorite. I think you know this guy, President of the United States. Um, Little sidebar, I was in Washington, D.C. in December of 1976, the year he was elected, and I actually spent time at the Capitol when they were getting ready to prepare for his inauguration. Um, this happens to be a signed copy, and this is actually his first book. Very uncommon. I don't see, I think this is actually the first time I've had this specific title, but I know it's an uncommon book. And along with it, I also purchased Negotiations, an alternative to hostility, a signed copy. This is more of a historical piece. It's an inaugural lecture that he did after he left the presidency. Um, and this is again a signed copy. Real pleased to have the signature. Yep, there it is. So that's a nice one. Another little item I picked up. These were all things I picked up while I've been in Florida. This doesn't speak to any of the wonderful things I brought with me, but I think most of you know this wonderful woman, Julia Child, magnificent chef. And I actually had the pleasure of meeting her in New Hampshire back in the late 90s. She was a guest talk speaker in Peterborough, New Hampshire, and I was asked to come and sell cookbooks at the event. It was an event specifically on cooking. And so I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting her. Magnificent lady, wonderful personality. This one is also signed. Uh, so and it goes along with the first edition. The first volume one I have also is assigned. So I now have a matched set of the French art of French cooking. So that's kind of nice. And this one I actually really was excited to find because I never seen anything signed by this lady. Unfortunately, she passed away this past year. Um, but a woman who I think was very, very much underappreciated for a long time, and now is getting her due in recent years. But this also was a signed copy by Jane Goodall, um, and an important person in the world today, in my opinion. Remarkable woman who stuck by her instincts and did it her way. And this is actually I'll do this one next. This is a piece I've actually taken on consignment. Um, it says this book is the property of the state of New York. The holder will transmit the same to his successor in office. And it's the manual on rifle practice from 1872. And so this is a military manual and was meant to be in basically a teaching library within one of the regiments in New York State. I would assume it's one of the National Guard regiments um, in the state of New York. A sweet little piece, not common. I think there's only one copy of it online anyplace. And then I have a piece. I don't usually go down this road too much, but I thought this was really unusual. I love Alice in Wonderland. I buy everything related to Alice in Wonderland. There's so many different diversions to Alice, I can't even keep track. One of my customers, who's got probably the finest collection of Alice in the world, told me once that he has over 4,000 different Alice in Wonderlands. I will never ever accomplish that specific feat. But this is a book that is not for sale any place to be found on the internet at this time. That's according to my research. Um, but this is the Breathless Press presents Wonderland Tales. And basically this takes Alice in a whole new direction. This is a signed copy. Um, it's for adults, with a very adult themes, but an example of how Alice can be morphed into other storylines. So for those who have an interest in adults, or adult material, I think you'd find this a really exciting and interesting book. Well, I think that's probably enough for today. We went on, Mike and I, way too long, but we want to thank you for being here. We remind you that the Antiquarian Book Fair is March 7th and 8th at the Coliseum in St. Petersburg. If you're loving books, if you like books, if you like to read, if you like to collect, if you like to learn or want to know more, the Antiquarian Book Fair in Florida, in St. Pete, is the place to be March 7th and 8th. And do check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and all those wonderful places on the social internet where you will find important, rare Zoom, or what do we call them? Podcasts. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Step into a world where history lives on every page at the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair, the oldest and largest event of its kind in the Southeast. Join us March 7th and 8th, 2026, at the Coliseum in downtown St. Petersburg, and discover rare books, treasured manuscripts, and timeless stories waiting to be found. Visit FloridaAntiquarianBookFair.com for details, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for exclusive updates. Florida Antiquarian Book Fair. Let freedom read.